Hi guys, John here with RealTruck.com. Today we're going to be showing you how to install the Magnum front and rear bumpers from ICI onto our 2013 Ram project. Some of the awesome features about this Magnum front bumper is that it can handle up to a 9,500 pound winch. Comes with tow rings, so you can put your clevises right on here to pull people out or whatever you need to do. Plus, the really neat thing about it is right here is where your rollers would usually go for your fairway lead for your winch. However, if you don't really want to put a winch on your truck, you don't want the added extra weight, what have you, this is an excellent spot in here to put your license plate. First step of getting anything new on the truck, we got to get the old stuff off. So that means these factory OE bumpers got to go. As you can see, we've got our front bumper down off here, 4 nuts, a few wires unplugged for the fog lights, and it's out. It's going to be different depending on truck to truck. One thing that I wanted to point out to you though was that we're using a tranny jack, which is kind of a multi-purpose under the car kind of jack to do this. If you were going to do this at home where you didn't have access to something like this or a lift to put it up on, then you could just put a couple of jack stands underneath of it to hold it while you take the bolts out, and then get a buddy to help you slide the thing off of the truck and out of the way. Next, we're going to go ahead and prep our front bumper and get it ready to go on this truck. We've got our bumper up on our jack ready to go. We've got all of our nuts and bolts and stuff laid out. We've got our new brackets to mount this bumper onto the front of our truck. So next thing we're going to do here is go ahead and get these hooked up to this bumper. One of the things you want to make sure that you do when you get these bolts on here is to go ahead and leave these bolts loose until you get this thing up on the truck and situated where it's going to go, because you need to be able to move this bracket around a little bit to line stuff up. And of course, if you tighten them down, it's where it's at. So we're going to leave these loose until we get it adjusted, then we'll tighten everything up. Okay guys, we've got our mounting brackets all attached to our bumper. We got this thing pretty much ready to go. So we're just going to go ahead and move it over there and get it lined up and in place on our truck. Okay, as I was saying before, we want to just go ahead and make sure we got our bolt holes all lined up, get our bolts in and started, and then once we get this thing in place, then we'll start tightening stuff down. We've got all of our bolts in and snugged down a little bit, so we want to just go ahead and start settling this bumper into where we're going to want it to be, and then start tightening stuff up. Everything's tightened up on this one. Let's go ahead and get started on the rear. We're back here at the back of the truck, getting ready to start taking this bumper off. First thing we got to do is go through and take in all these wires and connectors that for the sensors and the backup lights and those kind of things. Get that stuff all unplugged and pull it out of there, and we're ready to take the bumper off. So let's get to that part. Got all the wiring unhooked. Got it all up out of the way. It's kind of nice for the reverse sensors. It just has a plug that goes into the factory harness. You can unplug it, leave them in there so you get this bumper down and over on your bench or on your floor, wherever it is you're going to work on it at, and then pull those sensors out and put them into the new one before you put it back up. So next thing we want to do is just go ahead and start pulling these mounting bolts out and get this bumper down and out of our way. So let's get at it. We got the bumper down and out of the truck, so now we're going to go ahead and take all of our wiring harness off of here, get it all unplugged from our sensors, and then we'll get our sensors pulled out and get all this stuff back in the new bumper. Got our old bumper down off of here, got our sensors out of it, our sensor retainers. The new bumper up here, I've went ahead and put a couple of these in down on the other end already. We can put these in, but before I do, I wanted to explain to you that watch these sensor rings when you take them out, the retainers, or bezels as they're called, because sometimes, depending on what model vehicle you have, what year, what make, they could be angled or at an angle somewhat to fit the bumper. So you want to make sure that if you do have one that's at an angle, you put it back in the angled slot that it came out of on your original bumper. You want to put it back into the new bumper in that same spot and at the same angle. Fortunately for us, these aren't angled, so we don't have to worry about it. We just pop them and go. Something you want to pay attention to when you put this harness in and out of here, make sure that, because it'd be really a pain for you. This is what plugs into your factory harness. Make sure when you set it all up in here, you've got it on the right side, because if you take and you put it on the incorrect side, then you'll be having to take it all apart with it in the truck, and that'd be no fun. So, got ours where it's supposed to be. Ours happens to be on the driver's side of the truck. We've got our sensors installed in our rear bumper, so the next thing we're going to do is to go ahead and put our brackets on. And for part of this, we'll reuse the factory hardware. The small bolts started on both brackets to get them up on there, and then we'll put our larger bolts in to tighten her up. When you put these small bolts in, just go ahead and leave them loose, because we'll need to be able to move the bracket around to get the larger ones that go through the frame lined up. So we want to leave that loose until we get those in there. Here's something very important to pay attention to. When you put your bolts in that hold the bracket to the frame, make sure that you put them in like I have that one, because if you go from the back side, what will end up happening is you see how your bolt's sticking out, it's going to hit on here where your other bolt comes through to put your nut on to hold the bumper to the bracket. So just save yourself a little trouble and heartache when you go to put that bumper up on there. Okay, we've got our brackets installed. We've got our T-bolts installed inside our bumper brackets. We've got the bumper supported on a lift, which you want to do if you don't have a lift, you don't have the truck up in the air. Set it on some jack stands, something like that, just to help support it so it doesn't fall on you when you're trying to put it on. So next thing I can do is get this thing bolted onto the back of this truck, so let's get at it. We've got our bumper up in here where it goes. We've got our T-bolts pulled through. So we're gonna go ahead and put our washers and our nuts on those to hold them in, and then we'll tighten them down. You guys remember what I was telling you about these bolts for this bracket? Right there, if you'd put them in the other way, they wouldn't work. So that's an important thing to remember when you're putting this thing together. We've got our bumper attached, we've got our bolts all in, everything's tightened down, ready to go. So the next thing to do is we need to start plugging back in our electronics. Well, the first step in plugging back our electronics into the bumper is to go ahead and, according to the instruction sheet, drill this thing out. And what we're going to do is we're going to place two 3/16" holes right here and right here, one on each side, so that we can attach it in the slot where it goes with some bolts that are supplied in the kit. So I'm going to go ahead and drill this out now. One other tip I have for you, make this easier on yourself, is go ahead and snap this thing in from the other side and mark out where your holes are going to go. So that way you don't have to do a whole bunch of measuring stuff. It's just a quicker, easier step to follow. There we go. There you can see, got our holes drilled out, ready to reattach our trailer connector. So I'm going to grab the little hex head bolts that are supplied with this and the nuts and washers. We're going to get this thing up on there. Okay, so we've got the holes drilled out. We got it back in place. We'll go ahead and put our bolts in there. Okay, so then we'll go around on the back side and install our washers and our self-locking nuts on there. And then you can just reach around the back and put them on. Okay guys, once we've got that attached, I'm going to go ahead and take our wire and just find a kind of a comfortable spot for it to maneuver itself around. And go ahead and re-plug that in, get that all plugged back in, and then we'll fasten this wire all up out of the way when we get done here. And next thing we want to do is go ahead and plug in our backup sensors. That's just a matter of taking our plug and reconnecting it. Boom, that's done. Okay, the only thing left to do now is our license plate light, and we're all set here. One of the last steps of getting our bumper installed and finishing it up is to go ahead and put our license plate light on. And what we're going to do is we'll just take our wire, and as you can see there's a hole in the bumper right here. And just feed our wire right through there. Now then, the really cool thing about this license plate light is one, it's LED, which in and itself is cool. And the other thing is that it just attaches with your license plate bolts. So when you put your license plate on, you can just take your factory license plate bolts or aftermarket license plate bolts, wherever you have, and attach your light so that it shines right onto your license plate. So we'll go ahead and attach this. That'll just keep it in place until we get a license plate on this truck. So next thing we're going to do is go ahead and go underneath, raise this truck up, and wire that light up. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and trim back some of this wire loom, just so we can get our wires out of here, make it a little bit easier to work on what we're trying to accomplish. So now that we got that all ready to go, we will go ahead and attach our wires. Of course, you want to attach black to black, and in this instance, the red one will go to the white one with the blue stripe. So we'll go ahead and we'll do that one first. Boom. Takes care of that one. So, all that's left to do here is go ahead and pull our bulb out and tape all of this up to keep any moisture from getting into it. We've got our ICI Magnum bumper installed onto our truck. Gives it a nice rugged feel to the truck. It makes the truck feel a little more beefy. Nice thing about it is of course this nice LED license plate light, plus it comes with the holes for your sensors and also for your factory trailer plug connectors. So that's kind of a great thing about this bumper, and that'll complete our installation. So until next time, happy motoring. Real Truck Rocks the Ram, scene 1. Oh, I got the clapper. What I want to do is want to find a good place to plug it in. So much for that idea.
Talk about angles anymore, I'm gonna throw up.
And then there's also the angle of the dangle, because you want these to dangle at a certain angle.